Hello, and welcome to the Hopeful Romantics podcast. I'm your host, Naomi, and today I'm joined by my friend, Marina.
Hi.
As you can hear from that one word she said, she's actually from the UK, but soon to be a native California resident, just like me.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So Marina is a really great friend, and we actually met at a church conference in Malibu.
We did. I approached you.
She made the first move. I did. We quickly bonded over lots of things, including both being single.
That's true.
So one thing I always say is so important is having friends who are in a current season like you. And both Marina and I were single, but we definitely went through our single season in a totally different way. Like I never dated and was very shy talking to guys. And I feel like Marina was the opposite in the best way and pushed me out of my comfort zone in the best way. So yeah, do you want to explain a little bit about your season, where you were, where you're at currently, and how it's been?
I feel like it's been chaotic. I thought I would meet someone at 21 and get married and just like everyone else have kids and live happily ever after. That didn't happen. I was in a relationship for long term when I was in my early 20s and it ended. And then from that, a lot of dating and not much coming from it. And I feel like when they say it's been a numbers game, I've dated a lot of people, if I'm honest, like all different cultures and countries. But that being said, I haven't met the one. And I either went on a dating show to find the one, which is crazy, and we can talk more about that. But now I'm currently dating someone who seems very stable and healthy, and it's early days.
And one thing that I think you said is different about this current relationship is that there's peace in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before I would go for the check boxes and the lists and the paper, and I would be like, is this everything on my list? And then I wouldn't feel peace, and then I'd be so confused. And now this is different. I just feel so much peace. And God said to me, you'll know a man by his fruit. And I think there's a lot of guys that will say a bunch of stuff, but the fruit of their lives and the actions don't show kind of good things, the self-control, peace, patience, kindness. This guy shows all of it. And I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm just saying, seeing that makes me realize that, yeah, you need to focus on the action and the fruit of someone and not just what they say or what's on the list, but really, do you feel peace?
And I think, again, like a benefit to you having dated a lot in the past is you're able to compare those guys and relationships and even discover more of what you're looking for, who you want, so that when you're in the right relationship now, you can actually recognize and be like, wow, there's something different about this guy, right?
Yeah, I've never in my life had so much peace. And I think that's what we should follow in relationships, especially women. We have a strong intuition and we should be in our bodies and being like, how do I feel around this guy? Do I feel safe? Do I feel protected? Do I feel respected and valued? That is literally the bare minimum that you should feel. And if you're not feeling like that, I think you should honestly question it. And I'm not talking about the whole anxiety thing. I think that's separate, but I do think a lot of people would say to me, oh, you're just being anxious. And I wasn't feeling peace. They'd just be like, oh, you need to go to therapy. There's something wrong with you. And people that were close to me would say that about my past relationships. And I'm just like, no, it's like the Holy Spirit in me saying something's off. This isn't right for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with the person. They're just not right for you. And it's not what God has for you. And I would say like my biggest advice from all my dating journey in my 20s and 29 now is just stop dating guys you don't feel peace about and focus on peace. You're not anxious. You're not crazy. Listen to yourself. Trust yourself. We sometimes know and we don't listen, but just listen to yourself and trust yourself and follow peace. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's so key.
My younger self.
Everyone wants to know, how did you meet?
It's so funny because on the show, I read out a letter to my future husband and I literally read out a random letter that I'd written that said, I've given up going on dating apps. And basically, I met him on a dating app. And it was like the last thing I would ever want to meet someone on, honestly, because I'm all about good stories and all that interesting stuff. And I was so close to coming off it. I mean, I have been on and off it for my whole my 20s, and I've never felt peace about it. And this time I just let it happen. And we met on Hinge. Shout out to Hinge.
Another Hinge success story to add to your
Well,
list.
so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just very intentional. Like, we met up straight away. We didn't chat and be pen pals for ages. And still early days. But what I've learned is, yeah, I feel peace. I feel respected, valued, all those things. And I think that really matters. And whether it works out long forever or not, I feel good about this. And I feel like that's how God speaks to me. I just need to follow that.
Yeah. And I think it's so encouraging to hear how there are still good guys on these dating apps.
No, unicorn.
Yeah. But one thing that has always inspired me about you is how you're able to truly meet men in the wild, like, so easily. What are your tips for approaching guys in the wild and meeting guys in a genuine, authentic way in person without making it weird and creepy and also just feeling scared?
Margaritas. That's a joke. Don't be careful. No, they do help though. It helps, honestly, genuinely. I know this isn't something we've spoken about, but it helps to like hold a cup, like have a cup of confidence. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. Have something to hold, hide behind, comfort.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that's actually a part of it. Now I think of it.
So good. So with alcohol, I call it a cup of confidence, and without, it can be a cup of comfort.
I think aside from that, I go into everything with curiosity, whether it's friendship, men in the wild, whatever. When you're focused on them and not on yourself, and do they like me and how am I coming across, and self-focus, when you're focused on them, it takes away your nerves because you're not thinking about yourself and how you're coming across. And also when you're genuinely just curious about someone, you can just enjoy the moment and get to know them and actually build a connection. It doesn't have to be someone that you go on a date with or a forever thing. It can just be like, oh wow, I learned from that. I grew from that. We had a great conversation. We had a good time. Because I don't want to look back when I'm married and be like, I wasted my whole singleness trying to be liked by guys. I just want to be like, oh wow, I met all these amazing people that inspired me and made me who I am today.
Yes.
So that's what I really feel is, don't let looking for the one and being so focused on that take away from just enjoying, like getting dressed up, going out. If I want to look back and be like, those were like really good times we had, and getting ready, going out, going to cool places, talking to people, and taking off the pressure that this has to be the one, or they have to like me. Let it flow, let it be natural, be yourself. If you're not yourself, it's not going to be sustainable. So there's no point trying to be anything you're not. And just learn. I think I love to go into dates and be like, each time I learn more about me. And I think focusing on that is easier said than done all the time, right? It's always easier said than done. But I just approach people, I remove the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And that comes with experience. With experience comes confidence. And that's all I can say, because I can see you already when we go out, is get more comfortable, just like
slowly but surely
conversing with men. And
yeah. And again, I think it's like the goal is to, I think one thing God is telling me is see guys as just another one of my masterpieces. This is my son. It's not just some intimidating, good looking guy. And the goal of talking to people is not to be like, is this going to be my future husband? But can I leave this person better than I found them? Or are they going to leave me better than I found them? That's literally what I told myself before.
They are normal people too.
Yeah, they're just revolutionary fact. Men do poo and pee. Yeah, I think something that a lot of us late bloomers, quote unquote, fear is that rejection, right? And like placing our worth and value in how a guy reciprocate. Yeah, what she said.
Reciprocated.
Forgot to speak English for a second. Yeah, but how they respond to maybe us approaching them for the first time or talking to them. Again, how do you deal with that rejection? How do you let go of that fear of rejection?
I think it comes with experiencing rejection and realizing it's not actually that bad. And a prime example is I went out with you and I was like, look, rejection's not that bad. This guy's going to talk to me back. We're walking along the beach and I said hi to this guy. We just didn't respond. And I was like, see? Not like being still like a little bit of, oh wow, I rejected. But then when you do it, like when you just experienced multiple times rejection, it's actually not that bad, and it actually rarely happens. I heard this book once where this guy said he wanted to purposely get over rejection. And so he would literally do everything to get rejected, and he would knock on doors and ask to borrow their razor, and knowing they would say no. But what he found is that people started saying yes and they didn't actually reject it. And so that when I heard that, I was like, dang, like we actually don't usually get rejected as much as we think we will. So remembering that, and also just like, if you do worst case scenario, work your way back from like the worst case scenario. Is it going to be actually that bad? Someone rejects you, move on. Yeah, easier said than done. But I think just the only way to overcome it is by facing it, really, isn't it?
Stepping into that uncomfortable feeling and that fear.
Yeah. And not taking things so personally, because at the end of the day, people have got their own issues. If people aren't friendly back to me, I'm like, they are people I want to be friends with anyway. Anyway. I've just found out sooner rather than later.
So when it comes to dating, I definitely feel like you've put yourself out there in so many different ways. You did the apps, you are great in person. And then you also were on a dating reality show, which I feel like is one thing that all of us single girls were like, would I? Can I?
Yeah.
Not The Bachelor, though, or Bachelorette, but first date.
Yeah. So I, like, the long story short was I was in like a really toxic relationship for a few months, and I came out of it and I thought he was the one, which stupid now. But anyway, thought he was the one. And so when we broke up, I was like, I'm going to do everything I've always wanted to do. I'm going to do my bucket list. And one of those things was just like applying for a show, but I didn't do it seriously. I just half-assed the application. But one thing I did say in it was like, I'm a virgin waiting till marriage. I get this call like months later, and I'm in the shop buying bread, and I got this random call, this random number, and they're like, hey, we received your application. We'd love to interview you for the show's called First Dates in the UK. And I just laughed out loud because I was like, my life is so boring. I was like, I just needed this to spice it up. At the time, I was like, finally, something's happening. They basically interviewed me. I took 2 interviews, and they were like, we might not even find you someone, but we'll try our best, kind of thing, because my criteria was quite long. All I wanted was a Christian guy waiting till marriage. So, but I guess there were other things on the list, and it got to 2 days before the date, and they found someone from Instagram, and they didn't find anyone in the 400,000 database they had. They found someone, and they were like, we found you, this is the most incredible match, and went on the show and ended up being with the guy for a little bit and got matching tattoos. But we just weren't right for each other, and we both agree, he said it too, that there just wasn't peace there. We were like perfect for each other in a lot of ways, but we didn't have the peace, and there probably wasn't compatibility there. But we both believed we were meant to be in each other's lives for a purpose, and we both pushed each other into purpose. And that just shows not everything is meant to be forever, and you can date and it not work out, and it can be really sad and hard, and it was very confusing. At the end of the day, we both weirdly made each other better, and we both realized what we are looking for from it, and we both did share our faith on national TV, and I think that is awesome, and that honestly wouldn't have been someone I'd rather do it with. Like, it worked out how it was meant to, and I don't think we should force things to happen or last forever. I think we need to date and just trust the process and follow peace. And if I'd really followed peace from the beginning, it would have been much better. But I tried to make it happen, force it. In the end, the inevitable happened and it didn't work out. But
Yeah.
I learned a lot from that process, and I'm really glad that I didn't get portrayed as a Christian weirdo waiting till marriage.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like, how is that even admitting that on national TV? She recently also made like a TikTok account called the Gypsy Virgin, shared that fact, got like over 300,000 views with that, because I know most people in this day and age find it shocking that a beautiful, stunning girl like Marina is saving herself for marriage. And I know it's not easy.
That's what I have written on the application. So they were like, that's why they chose me in a sense, because it's controversial. These days, people have either love it or hate it. I get a lot of comments that are like, life's too short. And then on the other hand, I get people that are like encouraged and want to do it because they've seen that I do it or whatever. And I think like at the end of the day, it's a choice that I made from a very young age, and I don't regret anything. And I am 29. I'm getting older. Yeah, it was scary and weird to share, but I felt like the purpose was much bigger. Of, okay, if someone feels inspired or encouraged to wait, then one person, then that's worth it to me, because it saved me a lot of probably like hard times.
Yeah.
Like choosing to wait, and I can still give that as a gift to my husband. And at the end of the day, it's a choice that I'm glad I've made. And whether people want to re-wait or still wait, it's like at the end of the day, I'm happy with sharing it. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm
Yeah.
glad. People can think what they want.
See, that's Marina for you. Just like carefree. I love it. And I feel like another amazing lesson that was like brought out from that dating show is because we all have lists, right? Of the perfect guy. Mine is super duper long. There's like a lot of things on that list where I am praying that God matches it. But like you said, it's like they found someone who is exactly like the list. And eventually you both realize like this list is not it.
It's not the answer. You know what's even crazier is I even drew a picture of the person and showed them. They didn't share it on the show, but I drew a picture. Like I said literally so specifically everything. And I'm glad I was very specific, but also at the end of the day, what I've found dating this new guy is we don't have to have everything perfectly on paper, because when you genuinely like someone and you care for each other, you will be interested in what they're interested in. And I think oftentimes if you want everything perfectly on paper, you're almost doing a build a husband. You're creating this fantasy that's not even a real person. No one's going to be perfect. And it's almost, and not sorry to you, but because I had the list too, but it's like almost, it's about you wanting this, and loving someone is selfless. Is, oh, cool, you like dogs and I'm a cat person. I'm going to love your freaking dog as much as I was cats, right?
Funny enough, literally on my list, it says, I pray my future husband doesn't want a dog because I'm also a cat person.
But it just shows like when you genuinely like someone, you have that.
You sacrifice stuff.
Yeah. And when you're like, it's easy to like you because I like you and I want to like everything you like. But on the other hand, you get someone that's perfectly everything you wanted, but you don't feel peace and you don't feel like it feels right. There's no motivation to continue loving that person, even if they have everything. It almost makes it worse because you're like, even more confused. Why don't I feel this love, even though you're perfect for me?
Wow.
And everyone else can think that too. They're like, why don't you like this person? They're amazing. They can be amazing, but obviously God doesn't want me to be with them because he would make me feel good, right?
What an insane revelation, though, that a future husband list can really be selfish. It is me. This is what I want.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's literally, they say it's literally a build a husband. Have you heard that term before? It's like you're trying to create this imaginary perfect person. There could be things that you like preferences, right? But at the end of the day, what's most important is their character and that they value you, respect you, love you. And it shouldn't be so hard. I remember going to my mentors about my last relationship. And I remember my mentor saying to me, it shouldn't be so hard. And I was like, mind blown. I'm like, what do you mean though? Like in the Christian world, everyone talks about things being hard and sacrificing and carrying a cross or whatever. But yeah, they were like, it shouldn't be so hard. And someone should just accept you and like you the way you are and not try and change you. Then I realized after dating and meeting someone new that it's like, wow, I'm just so accepted and it's so easy and there's this mutual respect. And that should be how it is. You shouldn't have to ever change for someone and you should be accepted and you should make each other better. But yeah, you should just enjoy the company. There should be, it's not about if they're a dog person, a cat person, fish person.
Or how they dress and all
I mean,
that.
those things can be tweaked. Those are minor in the grand scheme of things. Like you want someone who's going to be there through some really horrible times. We're going to experience losses and hard things. And who do you want in those moments? It's not about their shoes or their whatever. It's about their character.
And as a Christian, even again, surrendering that to God and knowing that he knows what's better for us, right? Not we think we know what we want and what we think is best, but truly he does.
No, that is literally it. And also, I heard this thing that sometimes we get what we need and not what we want. And someone that's going to compliment you versus compete with you, huge one, and bring out the best in you. Like that's how it should be. It's not to say everything will be easy, but it's, do they energize you? Do you feel good around this person? Or do you feel insecure and like you're being suppressed or shrinking because of them? I think just those little things say a lot about a friendship or a relationship.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot. It's like, they should really bring out the best in you and also make you better. But
yeah, so good.
Okay,
I have a good question.
Okay.
If you were to go back to when you first started dating for the first time, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
If I could go back to my younger self, well, early 20s or whenever. Even before that, I was in a long-term relationship at 17 for a bit. And honestly, what I would tell myself is learn your value first, because that will determine what you choose later. And the amount of things that would save me from is insane. And a recent mutual friend we have, was like teaching me a lot about standards and like raising my standards, because that's just how she is. And I was like, wow, if you value yourself, like guys will value you, because you're not going to lower your standards. So you're not going to settle for like anything. And I think ultimately it makes you so much more attractive when you know your worth.
Yeah.
And I would tell myself that. I'd be like, okay, heal. It's hard to heal fast. It's like a process. But I feel like I would prioritize that before dating, because I would have saved myself from a lot of relationships I didn't need to be in, because I wouldn't have gone in them if I knew my value, or dated those people if I knew my value.
Yeah.
And that was up until recently, honestly. I will never do that again. Now, finally, I feel like I know my value more than ever, and I would never put myself in a situation. I hope I wouldn't put myself in a situation where I'm not being valued or respected.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I would say. And I know that's not an easy thing. I feel like it's easier said than done again, but I think that ultimately it makes you more attractive if you value yourself and teach people how to treat you, because you won't end up in a lot of bad situations with people that don't deserve you.
No, that is honestly such great advice, because I feel like, yeah, figuring out your identity and who you are and knowing your worth and your value and what you have to bring to the table, right? That means you won't settle for some dude who's just giving you the bare minimum. Yeah.
Most guys don't even do that. Crazy.
Like, what's below the bare minimum?
Oh, nothing.
Yeah. So they just give you nothing. That's
Do you feel like the list you've got has prevented you from meeting someone?
I think in the beginning, yes. Like before, dating was like you date to marry, and I haven't gone on dates because I haven't met someone who's like worth marrying. And it's honestly like conversations and meeting people like you who have been going on dates and not seeing it as like this very intimidating thing to find the one. It made me realize the trigger is dating, which is like truly just to discover more about yourself and what you like and what you're looking for. And again, having fun.
Yeah.
So I think that has been a huge revelation and something that has shifted my dating life and dating mentality.
Yeah,
right?
that's so good.
Yeah.
I would literally say to that, when you next go on a date, focus on how you are feeling in that moment. And if you feel safe and all of those things that matter, because how you feel, I think, really matters.
Yeah.
And the Christian world loves to say feelings don't matter, but God created our feelings and they do matter. And yeah,
even a couple of years ago, this recent first date that I went on, I probably would not have said yes or done that, because I'm like, well, he's not Christian, he's not this, and he's not that. But after having gone on that experience, I'm like, wow, I do feel more confident and sure of myself and what I can bring to the table. And I can have a 4-hour conversation with a guy and it's totally not awkward. And I know that during that date, I was able to like plant seeds and really hopefully inspire him and leave him better as well. What are your tips for girls who also want to push themselves out of their comfort zone and go up to guys and meet guys? Like, where should they go? How should they approach them? What are your best tips?
Yeah, practical tips. Let's do that. Honestly, I just say hi. Break the ice. I usually say, hi, where are you from? Or if they have an accent, ask about the accent. Start with an icebreaker. I usually just start with hi. Then feel out their body language and you're like, do they want to keep talking or not? And then that's the moment where you either keep talking or not. honestly start with an icebreaker.
Which is hard to do, I think, for most of us introverts. But there's a quote from the movie We Bought a Zoo that I still remember this day. I only saw the movie once, but it's all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage.
Ooh.
So just be like 20 seconds. And to say hi, it takes 3.
Yeah, I would say it takes nothing.
Yeah.
to say
I
hi.
think it's like when you sit there and you're like, how do I talk to this guy? What do I do? That's when you start to have the anxiety and the nerves.
did,
But
yeah.
you just full send or like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to walk up. There's no going
Worst
back.
that can happen, I feel like.
That's
the worst that can happen is something you should look out for is like, are they married? Are they, do they have a girlfriend? Are they with someone? It could be awkward. But even if they did have a girlfriend, you're just saying hi or whatever. If they're married, just saying hi. I said breaking the ice and just going into it with no expectations, just being like interested in the person, or just even if it's a little chat. I think it takes time to build courage, and those little chats will build up to more.
Actually, I feel like one tip that you told me that's really good is you just go to bars and you sit there alone.
But do you know what I like about the guy I'm dating now is he also does the same thing and we just do it together.
Wait, really?
He goes to bars alone. And so when we met, we're like, we could just sit at the bar alone together. Independence. And so sitting at bars alone is something I just genuinely love. I'm an extrovert, but I like to be alone around people. When someone will come to the bar, I will say, welcome to the bar. And then it breaks the ice. And then, I don't know, I just think to me, it's really fun to people watch and to have a margarita and to just be alone. And that's something that I enjoy doing. But I think you've got to also pick environments where you're going to be likely to meet someone that's not going to like crazy clubs or whatever, but like more chilled places and just chat to people.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story. She's full of many great ones. So if you want to follow along with her stories, again, it's the Gypsy Virgin, which is on TikTok. Yeah, I'll link your actual Instagram down below as well. But yeah, I think we've learned a lot from you today. So thanks again for just being so honest and vulnerable.
Thanks for having me. It's just amazing. Better in real life.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.